He's a leadership coach who has trained many businesses, including Google. His name is Michael Virardi. He's here in Malta. Michael, thank you for coming here. What are you doing in Malta, first of all?
First of all, thank you for the invitation, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here. I was here to train a leader one-to-one, a mentoring session. It's my 5th or 6th time. I work with various companies here, from Malta Go, KDM, and also one-on-one with certain leaders and trainers.
What's your take on like the Maltese businessman? You know, the average Maltese businessman as compared to, for example, a Cypriot businessman.
We have many things in common. We are small islands, and when you are on a small island, it's a bit. Things are too narrow, so you need to have to look outwards. And I've seen a lot of resilient businessmen here in Malta, at least the ones that I met. And there is this spirit that we can make it and we will make it. And they started to look outside. And because of technology and the rest, I think we are a global village nowadays and we can connect to the outside world. And the two people that I came here for were people who wanted to break outside of Malta onto the international scene. And that's exactly what happened.
How challenging is this? You know, that if you've based... because on the one hand, the world is true; it's more connected than ever. But also, it's still no joke trying to penetrate a new market, right? I mean, you can't just decide, you know, from one day to the next that you're going to, jump into those waters. Like, so what advice would you give someone who is a business who's looking to internationalize?
It depends if it's a business or if it's a freelancer. Let's talk about freelancers. In this case, I say that, first of all, social media has opened a window into the world. So as I tell my mentees, get those videos of yours up and running. People who see one video of yours can help you travel around the globe. For example, you told me that you've seen a video of mine talking about a DJ.
Yeah.
That particular video brought customers from New York all the way to Mexico from one particular video because somebody saw value in that video, which you can share on your podcast and people can see. I'll give you an example of a guy who was a DJ. Mm-hmm. Okay, he came to me. He said, Michael, I would like to improve my sales and also get my margins up. And I asked him, what do you charge? He said 500 euros. We met at a coffee shop. When I went there, he came in a bit late. So we sat down. I want to increase my business and I want to charge more. I said, okay, what do you do? Tell me the whole procedure. They asked me if I'm available on that date. I tell them yes or no. They asked me the price and I give them the price. I said, okay, first of all, you have to arrive 15 minutes early. Secondly, you have to stand in line because it was Costa Coffee and ask them what they would like to drink. This is the reciprocity principle. If you do something for me, I might probably do something for you back. So by the time they come, they will have their coffee. When you sit down, ask about the wedding, about the bride, about their son or daughter, you show interest. And then they will ask you about the date. So open your book. But he says to me, I'm not booked at all. Okay, just check in your calendar and tell them that the day is available, but don't say immediately you're available, just check in your calendar. So after, what do you do? I said. He said, they asked me the price and I tell them 500 euros. I said, no, you should tell them it doesn't cost anything if it doesn't suit your needs. So let me ask a few questions. What music would you like me to play? So I'll see if it's the music that I play. Once they tell you the music and it's the music you play, what do you do? He said, I said, okay, I'll play that music. No, you reach into your bag, you take a CD at the time, and you give the CD as a present. You say, this is 10 minutes. This is a small present for me to you to see the music and the mix I'm doing. That's the reciprocity principle number 3. And then when they ask you for a discount, what do you do? I say, okay, I can discount 50 euros. No, you say, instead of getting paid in 3 months or 1 month's time, if I'll do this, because you have to ask for something before you give something back, I'll do it if you pay up front. No, keep it. I'll pay in 3 months' time as we agreed. What do you do after you leave? After I leave, just note it down and I'll wait for their answer. No, you just send a thank you note that you appreciate the fact that they came there. And what do you do if you lose the job? nothing because I lost it. No. On the day of the wedding, you sent a congratulations to the family, even though they hired another DJ. Their family and the rest of the family will regret not hiring you, and you will be hired at the amount you want for the next 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 families. So it's more than that. So that's how I helped him unlock, by being transparent, by being himself, by putting the reciprocity principle in place, and not by being only a great DJ. That's one of the ways.
So the video in question is a podcast you had done with Peter Gregg, where you were speaking about a DJ who was looking to break into the wedding industry, and you gave him some very practical advice about how to make himself look more attractive. And that includes small details like turning up on time or turning up early to the meeting and looking busier than he actually is, offering people coffee. It's these small details, right?
Small details, yes. This won't take you international, but at the end of the day, it will differentiate you. And the first thing you told me today, as soon as I arrived at Content House, is that you do follow your own advice and you arrive very early. The thing you didn't know is that I am here since 8 a.m. and it's 11 a.m. that we're having our podcast. It's 3 hours that I've been here, not waiting for you, but working and waiting for this podcast, and also understanding where I am and getting a feel of the place, which is important.
Yeah. So you mentioned you mentioned a bit of an interesting point about social media, because nowadays what it has done, it's allowed people, or it's given people the possibility to essentially become freelancers or become their own owners of very small businesses, and be their own boss and use that to promote themselves. However, the more people do that, I'm guessing the harder it becomes, right? Or how do you see this landscape of, is the future just a world of freelancers, or is there going to be a limit at one point?
You mean if many people are promoting their videos and they're going online? First and foremost, I think we're living at the best time to be a freelancer, because the cost of doing business and the cost of getting a website up and running, or having a website for that matter, was in the old days was zero. You couldn't have a website, and then it was too costly. But now you can set up with minimal capital. Like my wife has gone freelance in the HR for fintech and iGaming, and she set up with, if I'm not mistaken, with 400 euros, she has set up a whole website, and she's up and running, and she's running her own business for the last 1.5 years. So minimal capital cost to start with. And when it comes to many videos online, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. Mm-hmm. And I always say that you need to differentiate and deliver value to the world. So if I can give one advice, since we're pressed for time, is before you post anything, you should ask a question. Is this a boost to society, or is this a boost to my ego? If it's a boost to your ego, it's unlikely you'll go viral. If it's a boost to society, it's likely that you will be vital and thus viral.
So it's about thinking about the value of the video rather than trying to go viral yourself then, right?
And delivering value to your audience. Mm-hmm. And there is one example, since you mentioned Google. In the old days, if I would post about Google, I would say Michael Virardi at Google, look at me, I look great, and here it is, Michael at Google, with the Google logo. If I was posting it today, I would say, and this is a true story, whilst I was at Google, I arrived a day earlier, and I spoke with the hiring team at Google, and I asked them, what is one question that you ask before you hire people in sales? And they told me that one of the questions we ask is, how would you explain Google AdWords to a 3-year-old? So at that time, I understood that you need to be succinct, you need to talk with plain language, you need to create an image in the mind of the other person. And that was an advice that my audience took to heart, and they understood how their salespeople should act, and anyone, not only salespeople. Mm-hmm. And as Einstein has said, if you cannot explain it simply, you don't understand it. And if they can explain it simply, they understand their craft.
So when you're looking to to go viral on social media, I mean, many people just find like a TikTok trend and assume like, oh no, I have to jump on this now to go viral. Is that how it works, or do you see it a bit more? It's more complicated than that.
I don't follow that wave. My aim is not to go viral. My aim is to be vital, because if you are vital, you have a better chance, long-term chance of success. Not viral, but vital. And vital means serving your audience and serving their needs and helping them grow their business, in my case, or grow themselves or break out of their country and move internationally. So it's not about virality, it's about vitality. So I don't follow the trend. I go exactly the opposite way.
That's a very interesting take on it, because obviously like nowadays it's become it's also what about the fact that it's become so saturated, right? That there's so much out there that you're competing against everyone. There's AI now, like in the mix. How important is social media nowadays, or do you think its importance might be weakening a little bit, to put it that way, just because there's just so much content out there?
There is so much content out there, and people should make a choice. They find it very difficult to concentrate, to focus, and at the end of the day, it might be hurting the vast majority. But the small minority who are clear about the message they want to get out there into the world, who are always asking if this is a boost to society, who are always looking at their numbers, not to see how many shares they had or how many likes, but they're looking at it as a metric to understand if people have resonated with their message. These are the ones who are going to progress. So certain cases, some people might call me and say, this video of yours didn't do as well as the DJ video. I don't care if it did well. The only thing I care is if my audience got any value out of it, and how can I increase the value that I'm giving to my audience on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. Mm-hmm. So coming back to what you said, I'm always an ardent supporter of less is more. So do less, but do it in a better quality, delivering a better message, a more value-packed message for your audience.
So you gave me this book, and I was just like skimming through this. The book is called Positive Impact. From the look of it, it's like a couple of like short messages and tips on how to become, to be a successful businessman. One of the I haven't read it all yet, but one of the points you mentioned that immediately stood out to me was when you mentioned appreciation. Can you explain the concept of this?
I believe the story that you have read is a story, because I wrote this in 2008 or 2010, I can't recall. I think it's the story about letting some drivers pass by.
Yes, that's it.
And those drivers wouldn't say
just ignored
hello.
you, yeah.
They just ignored you. And I said that the least you can do is say thank you to the person who let you pass by. And this is what I always tell my son whilst I'm driving him at school. I always tell him that if you're on the road and you're asking for permission to pass, the car that stops, the least you can do is say thank you very much, or wave, or go like this, touch your heart, say thank you. I think appreciation is very important. And the other thing I tell my son always, which I don't see it happening very often in the world, almost 9 out of 10, they say it was myself, Timothy, Charles, and so on. And I always say to my son, leave yourself last. Timothy, Charles, and myself. Keep the I last. And I always say to my mentees, try not to start sentences with I, me, I all the time, because the focus is on you.
How is this relevant for business, though?
This?
Yeah.
Because it's like the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. Look at the other side. What will they gain? How will they gain? And this is what you were telling me, that customer service, you have acknowledged or you have noticed that it's on a declining phase. Yeah. Because I precedes the we, because I is more important than the other person. But if you want to be viral, vital, and have a prosperous future, you should relegate the I. And you should try and think, what will that person gain? How will I can add value? And if you act like this, you will be viral, you will gain more monetary rewards, and you will have, in my opinion, a more prosperous future.
Have you noticed that sometimes we might be at risk of losing some basic functions of customer service?
Basic functions in terms of what? With AI or with something?
No, no. Let's leave AI out for
Yeah,
now. Just in
yeah.
terms of humans interacting with other humans.
Yes.
How like what are the skills that are just crucial and that we might be at risk of losing at the moment?
I'll tell you what are the skills that we need to bring into play, and then we can deduct from that the skills that we might be losing. So the first 7 to 30 seconds are very crucial. Even Apple knows this quite well, which is a huge company around the globe. Within the first 10 meters or the first 10 seconds that you're entering their store, they will greet you. Even on busy winter time, Christmas, holidays, they change their shirts into red so they can be spotted. So the first seconds are crucial. The way you answer your phone today, saying, Michael, give me some time, I'm coming down, but immediately our correspondence that we had up to now was immaculate. It didn't take 4 days for a reply to come in. So acknowledging the other person. And when they ask, what is the number one reason that people stop doing business with a company? So going back to what you asked, most people said rudeness, but they are wrong. It's indifference. Because rudeness means I'm paying attention to you, but I'm rude. Indifference means I'm not acknowledging you at all. You are in there. You're standing there, but I'm not acknowledging you in the hotel reception, at content house, at a restaurant, anywhere. So indifference is the number one reason, and promptness is the number one reason people detract, and promptness is the number one reason, the first taste, as you said, as we're coming up the elevator, the first taste in a professional, because you attribute many more things to the person who's prompt, that they are reliable, that they're knowledgeable, even if they are not. But promptness plays a great part.
Wow, I think that's a very good point. I imagine that the fact that nowadays we can be so distracted, or there's many ways for us to get distracted, kind of detracts us from this, right? The fact that if there's ever any lull in the conversation, you can just bring out your phone, and that's that you're constantly getting distracted, and then like sometimes I feel it might kind of make us lose touch of just humanity around us.
Yes, it's true, because in the old days, I've been giving seminars and workshops since the last 22 years. And in the old days, you used to walk into a conference room with your pen and paper and clothes. Now you walk in, if I can borrow your mobile, you walk in with your filing cabinet, with your personal assistant, with your songs and maps. You walk in with your secretary, with everything. So people get distracted. True. So the onus is on us, be the trainer, be the podcaster, to keep people on their toes by the way we present, our intonation, the examples that we bring, and how we make it interesting all the time. It also applies on social media, so that's why I'm not worried there are many people who are posting, because many people are posting, but not many posts keep the person engaged.
Wow. Have you? So there's been I know you're on the consumer following. There was a general election just took place in Malta, and the business lobby was constantly calling out for more productivity. This seemed to be like the catchphrase. We need to be more productive as a country, as businesses. How do you make a worker more productive without burning him or her out as well?
Yes, first of all, I know about the elections. I think the person who lost, Mr. Borsch, he called out, he sent me a message, and I promised him when I come to Malta we'll meet, but we didn't meet.
Really? Wait, how do you know Alex?
I don't know him. He said we interacted through Instagram. I promised I will get in touch, but I came and I was full of meetings this time around. So next time I will reach out, and that's a promise live here. But we shouldn't be talking about productivity. We should be talking about focus. Because too many emails, too many things coming, it's focus. What we need to do, because there are 24 hours in a day, emails are coming in non-stop, people are vying and crying for our attention, so we need to be more focused. We need to prioritize. We need to work on the most important things. According to Vilfredo Barreto, the Italian economist, the 20% of things that will bring us the 80% of the value, not the 80% of things that will bring us the 20% of the value. Because according to this economist, he noticed in Italy in 1895 that 20% of the people had 80% of the wealth. And you know the
Yeah.
theory. 20% of
Yes.
our clothes we wear it 80% of the times. So we need to keep our focus on the 20% of things that will deliver those results.
But how do you even start trying to improve your ability to focus?
First of all, this is what Charles told us as soon as we walked in: switch off your phones. If our phones were on, we could have focused, but we might have lost our focus because your fiancé or my wife might have called in. So we needed to pick up, for example. Or we would have disturbed the flow. So first of all, switch off. Switch off in your mind on all the other things. Switch off. Clean your desk. Cleaning your desk helps focus on one priority. Bring that priority up. Work on that priority. Put it down. Bring another priority. Take a break, because breaks are as important. Take a holiday and keep that mobile, if you don't have a lot of kids like I do, in the safe. Lock it in. Keep one mobile. Keep your wife's mobile, for example, and stay by the pool or by the sea reading a book and looking up, not looking down only on a mobile device. Look down when you're reading your book and you're consuming ideas. So simple things that we have forgotten all about.
That's interesting. Sometimes it is about the simple things, right?
Yes.
I was going to
True.
ask you. Yes. In terms of like the modern managerial style. So some people, and complain in a way that in Malta there's still this. Not all companies are far from it, but there does seem to be a trend towards micromanaging in some companies that businesses feel that this also ties into the productivity aspect, because they wouldn't want their workers to be slacking off. They want to know what they're doing, but at the same time then workers will feel that they want a bit more freedom, right, as well. How do you, but then again they're getting paid as well, so you can't give them all the freedom in the world either. So what would your advice be to a manager who's kind of grappling with these concerns?
You're talking about micromanaging and the rest. If I can answer this question by telling you what are the characteristics that a leader should exemplify, in my opinion, then we can see how micromanaging can go out of the window slowly, and not rapidly.
Go for it.
I think there are three characteristics that are very important in terms of the modern leader, and any leader of the past, in my opinion. I think it's clarity. Know where you're going. Let your people know exactly where they're going. Humility, to understand that you're not the smartest person in the room. And courage to take the difficult decisions that need to be taken. So if your people know where they're going, if they understand that they are smarter than you in certain aspects, and they are, and you are in certain others, and you have the courage to take the tough decisions and stand by them, because a lot of managers take the credit but turn to their people for their responsibility, then you have a better and a brighter future for yourself, for your team, and for your organization, which is very important. And another thing, in terms of micromanaging, maybe no one can do it as well as you can do it. But if someone can do it from your team 80% as well as you are, let them do it and concentrate on doing something else, and you can perfect it in the end.
What about the remote work phenomenon? I mean, obviously, like now a lot of companies have remote work policies. Some employees actually expect it and refuse to work for companies that don't have such policies. And there's obvious reasons why. I mean, it allows you to manage your time better. You don't have to waste time commuting in traffic. However, I don't know. I wonder whether it comes at a little bit of a cost, which is the lack of team cohesion. So even though you're working with your team, you're not seeing them face to face all the time. You're not, becoming friends with them. You're not bantering with them. Does this even matter at all, though? Is it just an antiquated mindset that we should just move on from?
I believe you asked it and you answered it very correctly. Remote work is good for tasks, but it's not so good for relationships. And relationships are so important for the productivity of the company, for getting the company to the next level. And this third space, as Starbucks is calling it, or modern companies creating third spaces, bringing everyone together, is for exchange ideas, to exchange ideas. Because if I have €1 and you have €1 and we exchange it, we both end up having €1 each. But if you have one idea and I have one idea and we exchange it, we end up having 2 ideas each. So remotely, it's not that easy. So it's good for tasks, for all the reasons you explained about commuting, about staying closer to the family. You don't need to be at the office every day, but it's bad for relationships. And the relationships is what moves the world, what moves companies, and what creates those ideas and a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging to remain within the organization and to prosper.
What's your take on this whole AI phenomenon? Like we can't ignore it. How many business leaders bring it up to you in these like one-to-one sessions as a kind of ethical dilemma?
AI is here. AI is here to stay. And if I can give you an example, because most people attribute a negative connotation to it, I'm now going to the airport, and if technology breaks down, we will be in a mess, and we will be upset. So if you backtrack, you know that we need technology. It's very important.
Yeah.
When technology is working, no one notices. When technology is not working, everyone notices. So I believe we need it. But at the same time, we need to become better at the things technology cannot become better at.
What can't it become better at?
Creativity, empathy, acknowledging the other person. Like now, Charles changed your glass of water from a higher glass to a lower glass because he wanted consistency. An AI computer would have said, it's okay, it's a glass of water, they can both drink. But he wanted this consistency. He was taking care of the little things that matter, whereas in terms of AI, efficiency would have been the most important thing, and not thinking about how people can react emotionally and how people feel. It takes an AI to spot the tumor, but it takes a human to sit beside you when you're listening to the news.
Do you think you can spot a post on LinkedIn that you suspect has been generated completely by ChatGPT?
I believe we are 4 people in this room, and everyone can spot a post that's completely, for many reasons. The dash, no spelling mistakes, posing and changing a line every 3 words and having 25 lines. I mean, people were not writing like this. Were writing in paragraphs. They didn't have that dash. And that dash, by the way, if you look at the correct, the end dash, if you look at, I think, in English, it's not that dash, it's the other dash, the M dash, not the N dash. So it's using their own dash if you ask the English. My English editor, John Vickers, tells me that ChatGPT is using their own dash. And yes, you can spot it, but at the end of the day, you can use AI so you won't get the blank page syndrome. No one will get the blank page syndrome. Our kids will never know what's the blank page syndrome, where we had a page and we couldn't start a post because we didn't know what to write. So we're looking at the page was looking at us, and it took 3 hours to write a post because we didn't know how to start.
Yeah, but
now you can tell AI what you have in mind, and it can generate 1 or 2 ideas or 1 or 2 paragraphs, so it can help you start the post. But if you rely only on AI, you will have content, but you have no emotionality, you have no sentiment or less sentiment in there.
But isn't this like kind of part of the crux of the issue? Like in the past, okay, there was the blank page syndrome that meant that you had to look deep in your mind to figure out what you're going to do, and then your neural pathways are going to be shaped in a certain way. If you're going to just rely on AI, isn't there like a risk that you're just going to forget how to think? That we're going to just outsource all our thinking or more and more of it to these
Totally
models?
correct. And what I advise my mentees and what I do as well is I don't outsource everything. But yesterday I was having dinner with a friend, Henrik, and who said, I am dyslexic, and thank God AI is here because I can start and finish a letter, which I couldn't in the past. The guy is a genius. His company is doing very well. And he said, thank God AI came into the frame because now I can concentrate on the things that I do well because I used to get stuck, not because of the blank page, but because of dyslexia. So it's a combination of both, a combination of both.
What would you, what advice would you give like a 16 to 18-year-old, a current 16 to 18-year-old who's wondering what career to get into?
I would tell them that before wondering, they should take a public speaking course because everyone communicates, but very few people connect. So it's important to learn to communicate and to connect. My twins, 5-year-old twins, they communicate, but they don't always connect with the world around them. So taking a public speaking course is very important to learn how to communicate and connect and bring those ideas forth. I've seen great leaders that I'm working with on one-to-one that are amazing in their job, but they cannot get those ideas across. They cannot communicate those ideas across, and they're losing out at the end of the day.
What's the trick? Always there's not one trick, but if you had to, pinpoint like one aspect of connecting versus communication that many people are just getting wrong, what would it be?
Most people make statements without backing them up. I have a framework called STAR: statement, think it through, illustrate it, restate it. So whatever you say as a statement, you need to back it up and then restate it so people can understand. And people who do not back up their arguments, for example, I told you earlier, is this a boost to society or is it a boost to my ego? And then I gave you an example with Google. What did I do? I gave you a literal example to understand how important it is to pass a message. But which message? Asking the right questions to find the right audience. So that was restating it, stating it, and then telling you again what I told you at the beginning. So the most important thing is not just to tell people believe me or trust me or honestly, but to back it up with numbers, with stories, and illustrations.
And what would you advise? What would your advice be to someone who's scared that they're going to lose their job to AI? This is an actual threat. Some people have already lost their jobs because their companies have decided to automate processes more so. What would your advice be to a person in this situation?
My advice would be to their managers. My feeling is a leader isn't the person who knows everything, but the leader is the person who's helping his or her team reskill. A person who truly cares to navigate this uncertain world together with their team, bringing experts, not to teach you AI, but to teach you also the skills that are so much needed that the AI is not bringing forth, as well as prompting, of course. Like empathy, like creativity. Recently, I was at OTE. OTE is the biggest telecommunication company in Greece and the region. And the person there in charge told me that their telephone operators and their technical people are upgraded. So when I said, what do you mean upgraded and reskilled? He said, Michael, in the old days, there was a modem connection going into apartments and the internet worked. Nowadays, we're not looking about connection, we're looking about synchronicity because most apartments in Greece and Cyprus are over 100 square meters, thick walls. So we need somebody to tell them how to optimize the space. There is remote work, how to connect the mesh, how to connect the wires. So they are acting as consultants. And in terms of the telephone operators, they're using AI to give you a 360 on what's happening with other customers, but they are empowering their employees, their associates, to take decisions on the spot, to solve customer problems, not spend money, but to invest in the relationship. So they're using AI together with humans. So reskill your people.
Yes, this whole thing about everyone being busy, right? The fact that I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older or because the world is changing, but I am noticing it that both in myself, but also with people I meet, everyone just seems to be extremely busy all the time. If you want to meet someone, like you have to book weeks in ahead. Is it just? What do you think the reason is? Is it because we're doing too much, or because we're just not managing our time well?
I believe you are you gave the answer. I think we're not managing our time well, and we're not prioritizing correctly, because we answered it earlier. Everything has to do with prioritization. And some people want to look busy. They enjoy looking busy, thinking that looking busy means that I'm more important, means that I'm more productive. And sometimes you follow that wave and you ride that wave and you learn. This is your self-talk as well. So when a great guy from here, Alex Falzon, came to Cyprus for mentoring, and he opened his calendar, and I saw how busy his calendar was, and he's in the same industry as I am, and I opened my calendar, and he saw that it was the exact opposite, and probably my turnover was way more. I told Alex, it's not about being busy. It's about doing less work, more productive work, delivering more value to your customers. And I'm happy to say today that Alex has blocked a day and a half from his calendar. He's not working in his business only, but on his business, the helicopter view. He has raised his prices and his value more than his prices, and he's enjoying time with his family. And we've been together the last few days, and what he told me is that thank you very much, not only because I managed to have more turnover, but because I have managed to have more quality time with my beloved family.
So in a way, the trick of getting out of the rat race is just to step out of it then.
Exactly, it's a decision. Like everything else, it's a decision. And many people, and everything starts at the end of the day up here.
Michael Virardi, thank you so much. Pleasure having you on, and have a very ever safe flight back home to Cyprus.
Thank you, Tim. It was a pleasure being here. Thanks for everything. You've been great.
Thank you.
And so has your team. Thank you.